This is my review of My Hero Academia School Briefs Volume 1. And this was a pretty interesting read. I know I'm a little late to the party, but I just managed to finish it the other night, and I just wanted to give my thoughts, quick summary of it, because I enjoyed it. For those of you who don't know, it's a light novel that basically... It's a series of short stories that feel like they could have happened in the main series, but at the same time, I think fans would have protested if they had, because they're interesting, they're good for character development, for showing, everyday life of our characters, but they're just kind of boring. I mean, the most exciting thing that happens for the big finish is Uraraka and a bunch of the girls going after a panty-stealing thief whose quirk gives them hay fever. And no, I am not making that up. It was bizarre, but... Anyway, it starts off with Deku saying to himself, "Oh my god, all of our parents are in this cage, it's on fire! How did we come to this?" Then flashbacks, 2 weeks earlier! So, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it sets up this big dramatic finish they're working towards, and then they just, keep it light and breezy throughout the whole rest of the series. So, okay, I know something big's coming at the end, but they're already, lowering your expectations because of how lighthearted the whole rest of the book was. Anyway, after that, they move on to basic rescue training. Of course, some of the students are complaining they'd rather just fight the villains and help with rescue, and... Mineta. He's just complaining that he wishes the girls were going down the slide in skirts, which... I really don't know what it is about Mineta, but something about reading his words in light novel format just really made me dislike him. I mean, the anime, the manga, he's perverted, he does it. It's funny to me. I know other people don't like it, oh, he's disgusting, he's ruining this great series, he doesn't belong here. Just oh, Mineta did something stupid and then he got beat up for it. To me, it's funny. I mean, not a highlight of the series, but it's funny. I wouldn't mind if they got rid of him, but I enjoy it a little bit when he comes up. But this time, reading his words were almost painful. And it really didn't help either that Ida basically played the straight man for every one of his gags. Mineta would say something deeply perverted, and then Ida would be like, "Oh, you're right, that would be more strategically effective as a means of getting real-world experience." And I'm just like, no, Ida, he's just a pervert. You should be used to it by now. Okay, then All Might shows up in a helicopter, which is interesting. Apparently that's what they're taking to their next rescue training session, which... I'm honestly almost a little disappointed we didn't see that in the anime, because they go to rescue, to mountains, to derailing trains, all sorts of crazy stuff they describe in one sentence, and I'm like, okay, that would be fun to watch. I would like to see that in the anime. I mean, they use the whole emergency rescue center once so far in the whole series. A little disappointing. Anyway, so then Aizawa basically explains that in 2 weeks' time it's going to be Parents' Day. So all their parents are coming in, we get to meet everyone, we get to see what they're like, and... Again, this is a bit disappointing here because they don't really introduce any parents we haven't already seen to a certain extent. And we see Bako's mom, she was a big thing when they were convincing the students to move on campus, which is actually after this, because this takes place after the sports festival and the internship, after the whole battle with Stain, that's mentioned a few times, but before the big fight with All for One. We also see briefly see Sue's dad, but we already got kind of a flashback to him in one of the episodes, I forget when. And Uraka's dad, we see him, but we saw him a few times already, and then obviously Midoriya's mom. I mean, no real new parents, which I was a little disappointed by. I mean, I really want to know the monsters that raised Mineta. I just kind of see his dad being even more pervert than him, and his mother just laughing it off. Or it's him being these super strict, super religious people, and when Mineta's around them, he's standing up straight, he's obeying, he's not perverted at all. That would have been interesting to see, honestly. But yeah, so no real new parents, which again, a bit disappointing, but the ones we did see were pretty entertaining. But that's for down the road. Anyway, they also have to write letters they have to read to their parents telling them how grateful they are. Aizawa gives some speech about how heroes need to show gratefulness to the people they save, and whenever they get a medal or they're thanked by people or whatever. And the whole class thinks it's stupid. I mean, Ida's all for it. He writes 40 freaking pages, then cuts it down to 20. But, yeah. The rest of them are just embarrassed, to say the least. So then Todoroki's thinking about Parents' Day, and he's like, yeah, I really don't want my dad showing up for this. I mean, really don't want him. Meanwhile, his mother, as it turns out, cannot leave. Like, at all. Even for the day. She can't get a day pass or anything. She's literally a prisoner in this hospital. So he decides to go visit her and tell her about it for some reason. He's not really sure why he's doing it himself, and in the end he chickens out and doesn't tell her, but... Oh my god, the interactions between these two are just... They are freaking painful to listen to. Oh my god. I mean, they're like good, they're well written, it's like they're trying to reconnect, but... The truth is, they don't really have much that connects them anymore. I mean, she even bought his, like, favorite milk yogurt thing that he used to like as a kid, and he's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember those. And then she's all embarrassed, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's awkward, but it works. I mean, I wish we'd seen, you know, the original interaction between the two of them when he first saw her again after all those years. But this is nice, you know, it's a good moment between the two of them. It's something we've needed in the series for a while, and I'm glad we actually got it here. His sister shows up, Fuyumi, which is interesting. I don't know why, but I always assume that none of the kids were talking to their mother. But I don't think that's the case. I think, based on what was said, at least in here, she's been visiting her all this time. She helps her with the laundry and all that. Which is just such a disconnect between, you know, Shoto and the rest of his family. I mean, it said, you know, they were raised separately from him because he was the special one. He was the one with potential. He was the one that could surpass All Might. But, I mean, if they were all visiting their mother and he never was, I mean, that just really shows how different those two are, how different their lives were. Anyway, so Yafumi finds the slip for Parents' Day, and his mom's all upset, like, oh god, I'm sorry, you know I can't leave this place. Then he's super guilty for even bringing it up because, you know, he knew she wasn't going to be able to go, and now he feels like he was just telling her to, you know, make her feel bad. But his sister has a brilliant idea. Why don't I go instead, and I'll camcord the entire thing? Which absolutely mortifies him, but his mother just loves that idea. So he groans, he's like, ugh. Fine, I guess. It's honestly hilarious just how mortified he is in this moment. I mean, this cool, calm-headed Todoroki is just like, oh, don't make me do it. And, this honestly leads to what I think is the weirdest ship I have ever supported in any series. Because we then flash over to Aizawa, he's making the phone calls, he's telling everyone about what to expect for Parents' Day, and obviously there's something big and twisted he has planned in mind, which... It's super obvious, even at this point, what's going to happen, but whatever. Anyway, so he gets to call Endeavor. Endeavor doesn't answer because, you know, he's a hero, he's doing hero work. All Might tries leaving him a message, but of course he won't actually listen to that message. So then, as he's doing that, he actually gets a call from Todoroki's sister, Fuyumi, and he's like, a woman is calling me from the Todoroki family. He's like, okay, can't be his mom. Oh, it must be his sister, which really just shows how skilled Aizawa is as a teacher. I mean, he knows the family of his students. He knows all about them. He really does care for them. I've had probably 50 teachers in my life. I don't think a single one of them could tell you how many siblings I had. And it's 0. So she mentions that she just came from a faculty meeting. He's like, oh, you're a teacher too. And they kind of like bond over that. And he even comments to himself, wow, she is so easy to talk to. They have a pleasant, nice conversation between the two of them. Which is just so weird. I mean, really weird. In the end, she's like, oh, can I bring a camcorder? And he's like, oh, no, sorry, you can't do that. Our safety measures prevent any recording devices from being allowed on campus. And she's upset. She's like, all right, well, I'm still going to come and cheer on my little brother. And then as he hangs up, he's like, oh, I guess she wanted that because his mother can't leave the insane asylum she's locked up in. Which, again... Aizawa, you are such a good teacher. You know so much about your students, and you actually care. I mean, later on, he actually gets her a recording of the whole thing that went down between all the students, their exercise they were doing. He's like, I'm going to get for you tomorrow so you can show it to your whole family. And I'm just like, Aizawa, you are the best teacher ever. And I think Fuyumi just absolutely loved that gesture, and I really think to myself, okay, these two could be a couple. I mean, she's 23 and he's 31, so... not the weirdest age gap I've ever seen, but I think it could work. I think she'd be good for him. I'd love to see that. Again, this is just a spin-off light novel, so I don't think it'll affect the main series in any way whatsoever, but it's my new ship and I love it. Alright, next we had Deku going to the museum that celebrates the creation of heroes, and I was actually a little disappointed in this part, because, I mean, this is like the dawn of heroes, the first people who became it, all that. I thought there was a lot we could have learned about this world, and the first heroes, and the first quirks, and all that. But no, we didn't even see the museum, which, disappointing. I mean, I love what Vigilantes did. They had a whole conversation about how hero laws were passed, what it meant for the heroes who were approved, and what it meant for the heroes who were denied, who were essentially designated as villains because they used their quirk to help people without government oversight, without government approval. I think that was such an interesting thing that they went in Vigilantes, and I was really hoping to see more of that here, but no. Instead, we just had Deku thinking to himself, okay, I need to buy this collectible, that collectible, that collectible, and that collectible. Oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, well, I'll just skip lunch and use that money I would have spent on lunch to buy more collectibles, which... Jesus Christ, how does he fit all this in his room? And he then runs into Bakugo, and it's just awkward as they both walking in the same direction. And Bakugo's like, I don't want you looking at me from behind. He's like, I don't want you walking in front of me either. Which is, oh, Bakugo, you're a headache. You're a headache, honestly. Anyway, then we flash over to an amusement park where Ida got 4 tickets from Native, the hero he saved from Stain. Well, the hero he kind of saved from Stain. The hero whose life was saved because he got in the way and his friends came to save him. Yeah, that's kind of the best explanation I can give for that situation. Anyway, so he has 4 tickets. So it's Ida, Tokoyami, Kaminari, and Mineta for reasons I don't know why. I mean, Kaminari and Mineta are literally just there to pick up girls, which is just... Oh my god, it's so freaking painful to watch. Read, whatever. I mean, oh my freaking god. It's awful. It is just god-awful, painful. At one point, the girls threatened to call the cops on them. And they should have. That's how bad they are at picking up girls. Oh, we also learned that Tokoyami's favorite food is apple pie. Because that's the whole reason he went to the amusement park, because apparently they have great apple pie, which is just so weird. So weird. Anyway, then he also does not understand amusement parks whatsoever. He goes on the spinning teacup thing, and he literally spins it so fast that Ida throws up, which is... Oh. Anyway, Mineta and Kaminari actually managed to pick up a girl. A kindergartner, which... Yes. Believe me, it doesn't get any less awkward. Ida even forces Mineta to explain what a reverse pickup is to this kindergartner, which is... Oh, yeah, she's also afraid of Tokoyami because he's a bird, and she's afraid of birds because she was bitten by one once. Which is important, I guess. So anyway, she's supposed to meet up with her mom near the Big Apple, but as it turns out, she doesn't know what an apple is. She saw a big red sphere, and she's like, that's an apple. Because it's big and red, and it's a sphere. So, yeah, I guess, why not? Anyway, they eventually find her mother. She wants to reward them, give them something. They're like, no, ma'am, we're heroes in training, it's fine. So they walk off, and as they're going, all of a sudden they hear explosions and chaos and destruction. Like, a villain must be attacking! And they go to this dark haunted house where, of course, the little girl is inside, and her mother can't find her, and there's just absolute chaos. So they have to sneak in order to find a way to save her. And really interesting moment here. I mean, Dark Shadow comes to life, and, it starts causing destruction because, they're in a pitch black room. I mean, Kaminari's, light helps out, but... I mean, this says Dark Shadow. Yeah, Tokoyami is your pet. And they both say, Dark Shadow and Tokoyami say in unison, we're equals. Which is interesting to say the least. I mean, they think of themselves as equals, as being the same, as being at the same level. That's... okay. I have a lot of questions about the relationship between the two of them, but... Yeah, that's So they consider themselves equals. That even though one is a living shadow, the other is a living human being, they're like, nope, we're the same, we're equals. I don't control him, he doesn't control me. We're in this together. Which, okay, why not? Anyway, then they find out what happened was the girl's quirk activated, which is actually incredibly powerful and terrifying. Apparently, she can blend into darkness and then control things from within it. Which I think we see a similar power to someone in Class 1B way later in the manga, but this seems more powerful, honestly. Also, she seems a little old to activate her quirk now. She says she's a kindergartner, and I'm pretty sure it was said that if you don't activate your quirk by your 4th birthday, you're not going to have a quirk at all. So, curious, but whatever. Anyway, Tokoyami managed to get her out of her hiding place, calm her down, and then she confesses her love for him, which... okay. Yeah, believe it or not, Mineta is actually jealous about this, and he actually says later on, you could raise her up to be your perfect bride down the road, which, oh, the cringe of that is just painful. So painful. And Ida encourages her infatuation with him for whatever reason. I'm honestly not sure. Also, something very interesting happened after the whole amusement park disaster is the girl didn't get any trouble. The amusement park said it was fine. Their quirk insurance would cover it. Which to me means that this is like an everyday kind of a thing that happens. Just like, oh yeah, a little kid activated their quirk and nearly demolished an entire building. How does society survive this? I mean, seriously, villains are one thing, rampaging through the streets. They're like, oh, looks like I'm going to be late for work today. But little kids activating their quirks and being like, oops, I accidentally destroyed a whole building. Sorry. How do you handle that? Honestly, every time I saw a kid, I would jump backwards like, what can that little monster do? Then if the parents say, oh, don't worry, he hasn't activated his quirk yet, I'd run the other way like, oh, shit, I'm not getting anywhere near this kid until I know what the freak he can do. Alright, anyway, then just moving on, we go to Uraka doing shopping, and she is obsessed with budgeting. I assumed when I first started this chapter and she was going all about it, I'm like, oh, she's doing this for her family. They're in a tight budget. It makes sense. But no, she's, like, getting off on keeping the budget exactly strict and secure. At one point, she's like, oh, if I can't get the one sauce, well, Daddy will just have to go without it because I need to stick to my budget. It's actually hilarious just to see how obsessed she is with it. And mochi. She has this whole thing where they're doing a sale on mochi, and she literally starts screaming in the street about why they couldn't have it 2 per person instead of 1 per person, which catches the attention of Yayarosa and Sui, who are like, why don't we come with you, and we'll each buy a mochi, and then you can get them. And she's all excited, like, yay, 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 mochi! And this is just so weird with Yayarosa. Oh, right, her mother. I said we didn't meet any new mothers, but Yayarosa's mother we did technically see a little bit. She's described as being like the perfect housewife, and like always primp and proper, and like never letting her emotions get out of control. And yet she's also like a severe klutz who like trips over her own 2 feet, mistakes sugar and salt all the time. So, an interesting woman. I definitely would like to see more of her down the road, honestly. Later on, when everything goes to hell and the parents are in cages, she's freaking out and screaming, and Yayarosa's like, oh my god, I've never seen my calm, cool mother acting this upset before. What am I gonna do? So anyway, they're going to the mochi, and as they're doing it, they're in this whole debate about morality. Like, there are people who have, like, teleportation quirks who use their abilities to steal food from stores, and they're wondering, are we stealing? If we each buy it, we're technically cheating the buy 1 per person thing, so then someone who wants it could go without it. And then they're like, alright, you know what, we're just gonna wait. And if by the end of the day they still have a lot of mochi left, we're gonna go buy it, alright? Alright. Which is just honestly ridiculous to me. I got the whole moral argument here, but they're just being extreme. Which I think Yayarosa didn't mind, because she just likes the chance to check out the mall a little more. And then, as they're walking around the mall, they catch a guy trying to steal panties. For reasons that are stupid. Anyway, so then they chase after him, and he sneezes on them and gives them hay fever, and all their quirks go insane. Uraka accidentally sends Yayarosa up to the ceiling. Sui accidentally loses control of her tongue and wraps around a Christmas tree, which I honestly expect her to just plow right to the ground. But eventually they all calm down. They manage to get back to the floor, and they chase after this panty thief, like, across multiple blocks, which... Yeah, I mean, they're not heroes. They're literally vigilantes here. There was a whole thing with Stain about how they're not allowed to use their powers to go after people, and now they're literally using their powers to chase after a guy who just stole a pair of panties. I mean, call mall security, whatever, and then be on your way. Anyway, they finally catch him. Turns out he crapped himself, and he just needed new underwear, and he thought they were briefs because he's an idiot. He needed them because he's going on a date with this girl he's liked for a really long time. But turns out the girl was standing right next to him. He didn't notice her, and she heard the whole thing for reasons, whatever. And she says it's fine. She forgives him, and that they're gonna go return the panties together, which literally the most awkward first date I've ever heard of in my entire life. But whatever. I mean, Yaoyoroza's like, oh, I can never go out with a man who soiled himself, and Uraka's thinking back to the first time she met Midoriya, how he was so flustered and goofy, and how that really calmed her down and made her happy. So she's always kind of liked a quirky guy, to say the least. Which is a cute moment for them. I like it. Anyway, next day is Parents' Day. They all have their letters written, more or less. And as Midoriya is sitting in class, he's overhearing stories that are just, oh yeah, you should raise her to be your bride. Oh, that panty thief who sneezed at us. Oh... And he's like, what the freak did I miss? What are all these people talking about? And then Aizawa doesn't show up for homeroom, and they're all kind of concerned. He's like, oh, he's always punctual. What's going on? They're all freaking out, and then they get a text. We're going to the emergency disaster arena to do a demo with your parents. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess. So they'll get there, and they're like, there's something wrong here. And they get there, and there's a masked villain who's loudly declaring, ho ho ho, I failed out of UA, and now I shall destroy your spirits by murdering all your parents. They got them in a cage full of gasoline, and I think almost everyone who's read at this point probably realized, yeah, this isn't real. Like, at all. It's obviously a ploy by the teachers to get them to realize the importance of staying calm in a situation, how to deal with it, even, you know, when it's their families who are the ones in danger, which very likely to happen at some point in your hero career. You know, they're going to go after your family. So they'll have to combine their powers together to save them. And again, I mean, no, this can't cover all the students, but a lot of them just got so little attention in this whole light novel. I mean, Invisible Girl. I mean, yeah, they use her as a decoy, so she strips naked so they can fly her over the gap full of gasoline to get to the parents with a stun gun in her hand. And that's basically it. I think that's the last time we see her in the whole thing, except at the end where they're like, oh, did you manage to get out okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm here, I'm alright. I mean, and the others who just haven't had a role are basically just distractions, you know, trying to get the villain's attention. I mean, Bakugo's mother is probably my favorite part of this, hell, maybe this whole book. I mean, like I said, their parents are obviously acting scared, you know, to get their kids to freak out, so they have to stay calm so they can, you know, do the right thing and save them all. Yeah, Bakugo's mom actually breaks character and starts screaming at her son for calling her an old hag. And they get into a literal screaming match across the abyss, and the one parent has to go to her and says, don't forget, we're hostages, and she's like, oh, right, sorry, I forgot. Oh my god, how the kids didn't realize then and there this was all a setup, I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, they managed to save everyone, except Deku's mom, who the masked villain has to save. Who, as it turns out, is All Might in his withered form. Which, I have to admit, that is a twist I did not see coming. I wasn't exactly sure who was supposed to be under there, but I did not see that coming, which... And it was all just a big misdirect to get them to focus on their families, their parents, how much they love them, and how they need to be able to stay calm in even the worst scenarios. Oh, and they don't have to read the letters. That was just about them remembering and reminding themselves how much they love their parents, how grateful they are for them, and how much they would be sad if they died. It's just such a hilarious scene, though. I mean, all the parents are laughing and giddy when this is over, and, oh, Aizawa, thank you so much for the acting lessons! And I'm just like, Aizawa's a good actor? Seriously? Also, a very interesting line about Bakugo's mother. I mean, I mentioned they continue having this whole argument even when she's freed. Because mean, why not? But Midoriya is remembering, oh yeah, I remember when I got into trouble because of my crazy schemes with Bakugo when I was a kid, and her yelling was terrifying. I would honestly like to see more of just her and Deku. I know that's a disturbing ship that I've seen disturbing fan art of, but I think they could be a very interesting dynamic between the two of them, and even more so between Deku's mom and her, because I mean their boys basically grew up together. I'm assuming they were friends at some point, so I don't know. I'd like it if maybe with the next UA Sports Festival they sit next to each other or something. I think that could be really interesting, having them talk about what it was like with their kids growing up. Hell, I wouldn't mind a whole another light novel of just them telling stories about their kids. That'd be hilarious. The final scene was actually pretty good. Endeavor shows up because he just now found the facts announcing of Parents' Day, and Recover Girl has to tell him it's all over already, and he's trying to act cool like, oh, I was just, swinging by, and I figured, why not stop in and see how he's doing? And she's like, then why do you have the Parents' Day flyer in your hand? I mean, just the dynamic between the two of them is absolutely hilarious. I mean, I think she's the only one who can confidently tell him off. Honestly, even All Might's a little afraid of his temper, but Recover Girl is just laughing at him and laughing at him. And it ends with saying basically, it looks like Todoroki's wish did come true for his father not to be there at Parents' Day. Which, yeah. This is an interesting scene. I know a lot of people hate Endeavor, and for very good reason. I mean, he essentially bought a woman as a slave, raped her, and had a bunch of kids with her. Which, so much wrong with that, and I would have no problem with Endeavor getting a crappy ending where everyone finds out the truth and he dies, or he's kicked out of the Hero Society or whatever, but this moment, it shows that he actually does care about his son. He wanted to be there for Parents' Day, and that does mean a lot. I mean, despite everything he's said and done, he does actually care about his son. I mean, I think all of his children to a certain extent, and he wants to be there for him. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on School Briefs. Again, these are some funny stories. We had some good looks characters. I just wish we'd gotten a little more on the other characters. I mean, I know literally nothing about Invisible Girl, and I think, honestly, even the author forgets she's there half the time. I mean, the dude with the tail, Koda, Sato, Shoji, Sero. I mean, these are all people we know almost nothing about, and I'm hoping in the other School Briefs we actually get some character development for them, get them to have some lines, some dialogue where they say something about themselves or reveal something about their family, their lives, how they develop their quirks. Just some interesting moments between them would be great. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy School Briefs? Did you hate it? Do you hate Mineta more? Again, I just don't know what it is, but something about the light novel just makes me hate him so much. Be sure to like, subscribe. Until next time.
Peace.